streaming. And let's see if it puts us live this time. Because last night we did a stream and it didn't. But I think we are live. So, hello everyone, good afternoon. Except Thomas Frank, get your fucking hands off Mbuemo if he wants to come to United. Do not start mingling with our transfers, sir, okay? This is your transfer news show. And of course, we've got a lot of breaking news stories because we're going live on a Friday afternoon. There won't be no show tonight, just to let you know, because me and Sam are both out. But this is why we're doing this right now, because we've got some very interesting stories. So, Mbuemo to Spurs, Sky Sports News reporting that recently. We'll get into all the details of that story. Osman, there's been links, again, saying that United are in talks, but coming from the journalist that is, I think it's nonsense. We will discuss it. Spurs, again, it's becoming like a war here. Spurs are going to sue Sir Jim Ratcliffe, apparently, for a sponsorship deal. And we also have a crazy Bruno Fernandes stat, which I really want to get into towards the end as well. But we have Mr. Shreyas Singh alongside me, out in the 50-degree India. How you doing?
Yeah, it's very, very hot today. Again, like you mentioned, the real feel is around 50 degrees. And yeah, seems like, in this little space of time since last season, we've got into some sort of war with Spurs.
Yeah.
Whether it's on the field, off the field now, whether you even have to look at it from a transfers perspective as well. I think next season is going to be very fiery when it comes to United versus Spurs. However this Mbuemo deal actually goes, whether he comes to us or he goes to them, it's going to be a very hostile.
Mm-hmm. Have we lost him? Or is he just lagging? We'll get him back, I'm sure. He's turned his camera. No worries, it's all right. I believe the noise I was hearing, well, the noise I thought of as soon as I found out that Tottenham were kind of sneaking in for him.
This was the no-brainer. This was the banker. This was the one that couldn't fail. This was one that's never failed.
Sorry, go on, continue your point, Trey. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's just getting a bit more hectic now when it comes to signing Mbuemo, because again, Thomas Frank has worked with the player before, and I just don't like when deals drag on for too long and you invite other clubs to come into the race as well, because not only does it drive the price up for the player, but it gives the player another option, because even the player at times feel anxious whether the deal will materialize or not. Maybe I end up staying one more season at Brentford, and by the looks of it, Mbuemo does want to move from Brentford. So if United aren't really able to come through with an offer that meets what Brentford are expecting, or at least near to it, maybe Mbuemo could jump ship to Tottenham. And again, having a manager who he has worked under for quite some time, it's not a bad option right now for a player like Mbuemo to move to Spurs.
No, I agree. So this is the story coming out. Tottenham have held initial discussions with Brentford about a potential deal for Bryan Mbeumo. Their appointment of Thomas Frank increases their chances. Mbeumo's preferred option is still Manchester United. A lot will depend on whether United meet the valuation. Spurs are prepared to better the rejected 45 mil plus 10 offer, given in encouragement. Now, before I ask the specific questions about this, and also before I get the chat involved as well, I have to say, if you lose to Spurs 4 times in a season and you lose to them in the final, and then you get a player hijacked off you as well, we are officially gone. That is like an embarrassment. Okay, if Spurs are coming back and they say, okay, we want 75 million now. There is something to say there, right? Okay, you can walk away from it because they're just stinging you for the sake of it. However, if they're willing to be, okay, we can take 60, pay the 60 fucking million and get it over and done with. He obviously prefers Man United at the minute. But yeah, are you worried when you see this kind of news, or do you think it's a bit of a scare tactic from Brentford?
I think it is. I think every club, especially when it comes to their biggest assets, like someone like Mbuemo, who is a very big asset for Brentford, they want to get or mint as much money as they possibly can. Especially for a player coming from a mid table club, to moving to another club, I would say in the Champions League, or even when you talk about it from United's perspective as well, they want to mint as much cash as they possibly can. And when you hear news like this, that United aren't really interested in bettering their offer, the one that they've made to Brentford, and the first thing you hear out of Tottenham is that they're willing to make a better offer than United to Brentford.
Yeah.
It create a big pressure on you,
Mm-hmm.
because this is not a situation where it is not a situation like Cunha, where he's dead set that if he'll move, he'll only move to United and no other club. Mbuemo has got a lot of offers,
Yeah.
and Tottenham, which has definitely got an appealing project for him. And when a player is not dead set on you that he only wants to come to you, but you know that you really want that player to come to your club, you need to move fast.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
United are really able to move quick when it comes to Mbuemo, and don't know why, what is the reason as to United are delaying the deal. If it has to come down to someone with the financial side that they want to provide some sort of systematic way to go about the deal, that is something else. But if United are stuck on this deal because they need a couple of outgoings or someone needs to be sold for the deal to materialize, I think that's where a big problem actually comes up for us. Because when it comes to outgoings, I don't see United really moving in a fast direction for any player who we've
yeah,
decided to sell this summer.
yeah.
So
Well,
if we are stuck because of outgoings, it could get really messy, and Tottenham could accelerate in the deal ahead of us.
well, luckily for us, in speaking directly about this Mbuemo situation, I don't think
You have to sell.
You don't have to sell this summer. It's all paper nonsense. You haven't got a clue.
I don't think we have to sell to buy him. Like, he's a player who could be. I think they said they can get 2 players right without having to worry about any of that kind of stuff. So the funds are obviously there. Don't stall on this. I know the window reopens the proper one on Monday, right? I think
Yeah.
because they had a mini one for the Club World Cup and then the new one open. So hopefully, as soon as Monday comes, it's like, right, the next bid has gone in, it's accepted, and then it's getting done. Just the prospect though of Champions League football and Thomas Frank, that's got to tempt him a little bit, hasn't it? Because there is a lot of players deep down who want to play in that top European competition, and he knows, going to Tottenham. They are a bit of they were a bit of a banter of a club, but they just beat us in the final, so they've won a trophy now. So it could look like a new kind of revelation in future at Spurs. It's still quite an attractive prospect, isn't it?
They've just won a trophy after quite some time, and that also being a European one. And I think Thomas Frank has done wonders when it comes to Brentford. Now working at Tottenham, I would say, barring a couple of areas, they've got a much better side when it comes to quality. If you have to compare Spurs as well as you compare the likes of Brentford, so it's a big step up for sure. But the prospect is quite appealing because he doesn't really have to change as much in his game. If you have to compare it to Brentford and now moving to Tottenham, if he replicates what he's been doing, he'll be a sure shot starter. And when it comes to Spurs right now, they do need some more attacking threat. The Son is aging. They've got the likes of Richarlison still around at the club. They've still got a couple of other odd players who are miss and hit for them. So even they are crying out loud when for consistency in some of their departments. So it is definitely a very, very appealing offer. But you can say the same for United as well. We are crying out loud for consistency in our attacking areas. We need players who can turn up for us week in and week out and provide us with the sort of impact that a player like Mbuemo definitely does for Brentford. But the only thing is that we're currently stalling on the deal with Gyökeres because it is being termed that we need to sell. At least these deals done, because
Yeah.
even if United is stalling on Mbuemo, but if they can get Gyökeres done in the meantime, or even if it is someone else, it will be a bit justified that okay, we didn't really accelerate for Mbuemo in this one because we were focusing ourselves on another deal, and getting Gyökeres in is a big win for us as well, no doubt about it. But we need to move at
Yeah,
least in
yeah.
some direction.
Like,
There
get
are still
cracking in
big
it. Like, you think Man
Yeah.
City, right? Man City have just signed Nore, Ryan Cherky, and Reinders. 3 players.
Yeah.
Through the door, like that. Rapid. Done. Dusted. Finished deal. I think Chelsea signed a couple of players. I know we've got Cunha done. But, like, you have to be quick with these deals because you've seen right now Spurs are stepping in, they're testing the waters. The longer you leave it, the more the Sharks will circle. And if they believe there is a deal to be done, or they think, we'll pay the extra million, especially the coach as well, because Thomas Frank knows him really well. And he knows, I want a great start to life at Spurs. If I bring a player in who's got 27 goal contributions in the Premier League, that's going to significantly help me. And I know the player, and there's not going to be no bedding in period or any kind of transitional period. Can I just say as well on Thomas Frank, I think, an early shout, I think he's going to do really well there, mate.
Yeah. I think
Really well.
I think there is definitely one area of his play which has been criticized, which has been defensively. He can be quite leaky, and Brentford this season have been quite leaky. But when it comes to goals, but if you look at his midfield, it is quite systematic. The way he uses Norgard, the way he uses Janelt, the way he puts Damsgaard in the 10 in there as well. So it's quite systematic, and you can see a style and approach which is sustainable when it comes to the Prem. It is not something that is way too chaotic. It is not something that you need the best possible scenarios or the 100% successful scenarios for it to work. It is a tried and tested way, and it has worked wonders for him in the Prem.
Hmm.
Now when he's moved to Spurs, he's got much better personnel to work with. He's got someone like Van de Ven at the back, Vicario at the back. I think Destiny Udogi could prosper in this system as well. I think Jet Spence is someone who has revitalized
I
himself
like
at.
him.
I think under this guy as well, I think under Thomas Frank he can prove to be a very very important player for them. They've still got the likes of Kulusevski and Madison who are both very very important, and I think Madison is also very key for them. So they've got these players, who fit in their own aspect into this system, but I think it can be a whole lot more controlled and systemized under Thomas Frank if you have to
Yeah.
compare it to Ange.
To Ange, yeah. I mean, it's an easy comparison in that sense. Like, it feels like Thomas Frank's very data driven, very focused on structure and those kind, very methodical. I'm not saying Ange isn't methodical. You don't get to those kind of coaching roles if you're not detailed in your analysis or whatever. But it did feel like it was kind of ultra attacking with Ange and full throttle. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Right, let's go to the comment section. Robert Nasaya saying Man United are not serious for the Mbuemo deal. They're jokes. Man City signed 5 players within 1 week. That's what I mean. They're just clinical. They are just bing, bang, bosh, done. And they're all on the Club World Cup, by the way. So I think that also had something to do with it as well. There was more of an urgency because he was going into that tournament. Obviously, the cash prize is relatively good, as we all know. Charlie's saying Ben Jacobs and Mbuemo wants United, not Spurs. Papers and Sky Sports need to make money. Yeah, I do think it's a bit of a scare tactic, I'm not going to lie. I think if Brentford know about, well, they obviously know about Thomas Frank going to Spurs, maybe not agreeing with the story, but pushing a story out there that, Spurs might bid. It might force the bid to come in a little bit quicker. Maybe that's their thinking behind it. It's like United being linked to Sesko now out of the blue. Yep, and Arsenal for Ekatike starting to get very silly. Danny's saying it doesn't matter. He's going to United. He wants United. Spurs won't make a difference. Brentford want the best offer, so clueless journalists going for clicks, or Brentford trying to get a better deal. Speaking of clueless journalists trying to get clicks, we had a news coming out earlier on today that Man United have resumed talks with Victor Osimhen to work out the details of a potential deal. He still wants 12 million euros net a season and has a price tag of around 75 million euros as well. Now, this is coming out from Sebastian Dennis, who works for Foot Mercato. And anyone who don't know, Foot Mercato is primarily an aggregator site known for publishing transfer rumours like rapid, just without kind of deep sourcing anything at all. So it's bollocks. Absolute bollocks. There's probably interest in Osimhen there, but the financial side of it has always been the issue with it. But if we take that out, hypothetical situation, if the Osimhen comes back on the Osimhen deal, comes back onto the table, Shreyas, Gyökeres or Osimhen?
Osimhen. I think Osimhen is well-rounded. I think Osimhen for this system, and I would say especially for the Premier League as well, I think he's someone who's more of a guarantee for me. You know, just whenever I've seen him play, and for a continued basis as well, he's probably one of the perfect strikers you'd probably ever get, especially during this time, because Gyökeres is a beast as well, but there are areas to his game where I can see and look at this is something he needs to improve on. This is something he needs to improve on. I think someone like Osimhen, when provided even with poor service, is able to deliver you with 20 to 25 goals. And that is something I look at and go, at United, you're not guaranteed service. Who you sign, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get 5 to 6 chances per game. You need someone who has to create chances out of nothing. You need someone who just knows when to be positioned at the right place at the right time out of nowhere. And Osimhen is someone who fits into that sort of category. And again, considering his age, he's in his prime. And on top of that, I think when you look at him as well, heading wise, crosses wise, you look at the amount of duels he wins inside the final third, everything is up there, especially for someone like Ruben Amorim. So for me, I've said it for a long time as well. Osimhen has always been the first choice for me because he gives me more guarantees if I have to compare it to Gyökeres. I think Gyökeres comes in, he does a brilliant job as well, but I think Osimhen takes us even a step ahead.
Where are you at with the scales of the Gyökeres deal? Because there's obviously a lot of public drama going on in there between Sporting and Gyökeres and the president and all that, which me and Sam touched on the other day. But obviously Arsenal being involved in the mix as well. It seemed like they was favouring towards Sesko, but now you're also hearing a lot of stuff about Arsenal pushing for Gyökeres and in talks and seeing what's happening there. Where do you rate our chances on the scale at the minute, just in your opinion?
The thing is, when it comes to Arsenal aggressing for the Gyökeres deal, it's not come from, for me at least, not from as much credible sources.
Mm.
When I saw them being linked and moving ahead for Sesko, it was through credible sources that they really, really want
Yeah,
Sesko, and Arteta
yeah.
really likes. I think they're still in for Sesko. I
Mm.
honestly think that they're still in for Sesko, and Gyökeres is their second option. And again, till the time that is the case, I think United needs to go ahead and get this deal done. Because if
Yeah.
Arsenal come for him, I think Gyökeres will move to Arsenal, and Saka and the likes of Gyökeres in one team is not going to be easy to stop.
Do you think they win the
So
league with Gyökeres?
they've got a shot.
I
I think
agree, but then I look at what City have just done, and I think they're going to be a fucking force next season. City's team, at the minute, they have reinforced. They've got Rodri and Reinders for the midfield. Like, that is fucking absurd. An absurd midfield. Aït-Nour is a
and in the
quality left back.
and
I
in
would
the
have signed
10 they've
all
sent
3 of
him
their
to-
players, Shreyas, for United, that they've just
of
signed.
course, of course. Reinders is quality, and he's not even someone who's an out and out 8. He's a 6, he's an 8, he's a 10, man.
Everywhere.
He's world class. All of those options.
Yeah.
You look at someone like Cherki. He's also a generational talent coming through the ranks, and I think he's made the perfect move right now for his career. If you look at it from his angle to City, if Pep doesn't really do what he did to Grealish, I think Cherki will completely take the league by storm because he's that good. You look at, and like you mentioned, Rodri is going to be back next season as well. You're going to have Rodri, you're going to have Reinders, you're going to have Cherki in that midfield. That entire midfield is completely transformed.
Mm.
And still got the likes of Kovacic, they still got the likes of Nico Gonzalez on the bench, who was very tidy
Did they
options
spend
for you.
50 million on him
Yeah,
from Porto? It was, wasn't it? Mate, the money they spend, listen, we're talking from a United perspective, right? So I understand we spent it stupidly.
they spent 150 to 160 mil in the last January window. They
Yeah.
signed a Palmeiras got with the name of Rice for around 50,
Yeah,
60.
the
They
centre
spent
back,
enough.
you've got Marmoush, Cherki, like all these players coming in, and obviously they need a bit of a revelation, right? You can see why they've spent the money, but I'm also in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do these players know about like the court case that's ongoing about the 115 charges? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
And honestly, I forgot they had Marmoush, and now that I realize it, I know he's not an easy player either. He's like an absolute unit in himself as well. So I think City have definitely, Nori in that left back. I think they desperately needed a left back, and they've got the perfect choice you could possibly get. I think City are definitely in contention next season. I'm sure if Arsenal get the right striker in, I think they'll definitely be in contention as well, because again they're going to be going with the Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Zubimendi in midfield next season, and Zubimendi is going to be helping him out quite a bit when it comes to putting Declan Rice more box to box.
sorry to interrupt you, Trey. The mic's got a bit of feedback on it. It's like popping a little bit. I don't know if you want to turn it on and off.
Yeah.
Whilst you do that, let's just go into the comment section because I'm sure there's plenty of opinions in there. Let's have a look. Osman never played in the Premier. All say he's fine despite his injuries. Gyökeres was second top scorer in the Championship and now the most prolific striker in the world, yet he's doubted. For me, with Gyökeres, if you've actually, I'm not saying you haven't, just for you specifically, Danny, but if you've actually watched him play football in the leagues, he does have weaknesses. The more footage I watch of him, the more I'm like, you might not get that time, or you might struggle against a certain centre-back. Obviously, he scored the amount of goals that he has, and you can't overlook that because you're talking about over 60 goal involvements in a single season, which is fucking incredible. But you tell me one striker that has come over from Portugal and been successful in this league. There was a lot of hype about Darwin Núñez. Now, I'm not saying Darwin Núñez is the same player as Gyökeres, but he was bought for 80 million quid. Next best thing, United wanted him. There was a few other clubs interested in him. Didn't do great. He got 6-7 goals, I think, last season for Liverpool. So just because it's hype, just because he's doing so well in the Portuguese league, does not mean he'll be successful in the Premier League either. So whichever way you look at it, there's going to be a risk, there's going to be a gamble, regardless, in my opinion. Which, if you get Sesko, if you get Gyökeres, if you get Osman, risks involved with all of them, whether you're talking injuries, price, etc. It'll all be there, right? So, but I take your point. I know what you're saying. When you speak about the second top scorer in the Championship as well, the Championship's always well and good. Like Jimmy Garner tore it up in the Championship, and now he's playing for Everton. So
Yeah.
it's not always a great measurement of, where you're at as a player. How are we doing for sound, Shreyas?
All good now, I guess.
Yeah, so awesome. I can't remember where we was at, so we'll just move on to the next story, yeah? So this is coming out from the Telegraph. Tottenham are suing Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos Automotive Limited after Ineos asked to withdraw from their sponsorship deal with Tottenham 2 years early, which, I mean, Jim can't get away from the press at the minute, can he? Genuinely, it's just bad press fucking everywhere. Wasn't it something as well with the All Blacks? Am I right in saying that? Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Sponsorship things with that, I don't know what we can speak about this really, but it's just daft, isn't it? It just seems like he's always in the media, Shreyas.
I think him and Amarim both, just can't get away from interviews and, just coming out in the media. But again, can't really say nothing about it. And like you mentioned, at the starting of this episode of the stream as well, they just need, there is just something that we've got against Spurs since last season.
Yeah.
Something just keeps coming up versus Spurs.
There's a rivalry brewing, isn't there? Genuinely, and I never thought to say that because we shouldn't even consider Spurs as rivals, what we've done in the game and what we've won. But the reality of the situation is, at the minute, if you've got Spurs who are suing Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you've got a manager from Spurs who are trying to steal a really key player in the system for us, who Amarin really, really wants, and you've also got a team who beat us 4 fucking times last season and beat us in the Europa League final. That's like, it's football beef, isn't it, really? It's turning into a little bit of a rivalry. And
I think it is. And we seem to forget, Thomas Frank isn't a big fan of United as is. He's always been pretty critical when it comes to it.
I was going to say the Sancho thing. Do you remember that? When he came out, it was, they've got the luxury of a £70 million player or whatever. Yeah. And it was very salty, wasn't it? Very, very salty. So
he's always been very salty. When we beat them once with, I think, Ronaldo, he said, they've only won because of him, and there just seems to be something every single time we come up against Brentford. Every single time.
Yeah. In fairness to them as well, they've also beat us a couple of times. I remember that game, Ten Hag's first game, in the lime green kit. It was one of the worst showings I've ever seen in my life. And they blitzed us, blew us away within 30 minutes. And then Mbuemo was a big part of that as well, just bagging goals. Ivan Toney and all them players. So, yeah, there's definitely something brewing up there. Gyökeres is 6'2" and £200. He's stacked, stronger than Chris Wood. Statistics say twice the counter-attack goals in Portugal and Prem, yet says he only scores counters most at Watch Sporting. Vardy started the Prem from the Championship at 27, and we've seen what that little rat has done. Gyökeres statistically makes more runs at a higher intensity, and pointed out his power stats. Yeah, I had no doubt in that. In terms of carrying the ball and physicality, it's really, really good. His aerial ability in the box is shocking. When we was doing the comparison with him and Mateta in the box, none of them have scored a headed goal. So that's something that he needs to work on. He needs a lot of time and space in the Portuguese league when you watch him when he does run with the ball. When you go to the Premier League, you've got seconds to. Do you know what I'm saying? The reaction time's completely different because the way you get pressed in the Prem is different to any league on the planet. And Amarin touched on that. We saw the Europa League campaign in comparison to the Prem. I just don't think he's going to be as good in the Premier League. I think he'll still score 15, 20 goals because he's quality finisher. He has obviously good traits. But I don't know. Do you not have the similar concern with Gyökeres coming to the Prem?
I think if he comes, he's going to get goals. No, I don't have a concern that he's going to struggle throughout the season. I think he'll come in, he'll have a time to definitely adjust because the Prem is different. But I think if he comes, he'll still at least bag us 15 to 20 goals. I'm quite sure about it because he has a certain caliber attached to his name now. And I think on top of that, he does have a fair idea as to how the Prem works. He's come up against Prem opposition in the Champions League last season, and he did fairly decent against them. So not a concern for me for him when it comes to adjusting. The concern that I do have is United are genuinely in a very delicate position right now. And when I say this, it's in the way, I know Gyökeres might end the season with 15, 20 goals, but if he isn't able, he's going to be the media's favorite target the moment he walks into the club. So sometimes it's not on the player. The media can be very, very targeted, and sometimes players aren't really able to cope up with the pressure. We've seen players struggle with that at United before, and they moved from United and had insane careers. So I think we definitely need to protect the guy when he does come in, because I don't expect him to come in and first game and he scores a hat trick.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are still very big gaping holes in this team that need to be filled, and he could be termed as a scapegoat when he does come in, and if United aren't really able to perform that well, especially if we struggle in the final third. If we don't address the wing back issue, it's going to happen next season as well.
Yeah.
So honestly, there are still a lot of holes in this team, and I know Gyökeres can work, especially in this team with the same manager. Why won't he work? He'll definitely work, but I think the supporting characters around him, we've not really addressed those issues.
Yeah, I would go on record to say as much as he will not replicate them stats he's doing at the minute in the Premier League. No chance. And I would put big money on that. He ain't going to score fucking 40 goals in the Premier League. No chance. Yeah.
If he
even
moved to a team like City,
yeah,
maybe he could. Because,
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's different, right? Danny's also saying, name a successful German midfielder that's done well. Liverpool paying 150 mil for Wirtz. Gundogan from Dortmund, they bought for 20 million and was one of Pep's best players, and he'll tell you that straight off the bat. Mr. Ozil at Arsenal was obviously incredible for a decent period. Fucking Pascal Grobe at Brighton.
Yeah.
Great player, very versatile. Like there's plenty of players there. Chris is saying Mbuemo was not chosen. Tottenham people need to stop believing non-reliable journalists. Well, we discuss it. We're not saying it's definitely happening. We're saying this is what's being reported, and here's our opinion. So it's not us kind of preaching it out there. Just the last thing I wanted to touch on before we end the show, Shreyas. I saw a stat coming out from the Athletic before. Who are in my bad books, but I'll leave that for another day. Bruno Fernandes has played the most minutes out of any player in Europe's top 5 leagues since 2020 and 2021. 22,823 minutes. And the other two players in that list are Alex Remiro and Jan Oblak, who are both goalkeepers. That is fucking outrageous, isn't it? And does that not speak levels of his consistency and how durable he is? Probably the most durable player in Europe, right?
He is. And again, even when he's had bad seasons, I've always said he's a world-class player. And he's always displayed it not just because of his availability that, he just doesn't get injured, but he's not able to back it up on the pitch. He definitely backs it up on the pitch. And he turns up for us in the moments where no one turns up. And on top of that, again, if he wasn't here at United last season, we genuinely would have been relegated if not for Bruno's assists and goals. So I think when it, maybe, as time passes, people won't really be able to, understand the impact that Bruno really had on the team. Because, when it comes to Prem titles, when it comes to Champions League titles, and, in that regard, he's not going to be termed as that sort of player that, Bruno is a legend or Bruno is someone who took United to great heights. But
yeah,
I think he's someone who's definitely been an irreplaceable piece for us since the moment he's walked into the club. And if he wasn't here, I think we would have been struggling under Oli as well. Because, people seem to forget we were around 6th or 7th when Bruno did actually, come into the club. He came in, we went on that freakish unbeaten streak till the end of the season. We finished 3rd. Next season, and we finished 2nd. And Bruno played a massive role in both those seasons for us. And again, managers changed, playing style changed, philosophies changed. And he reinvented his game under every manager as well. A lot of people thought that, Bruno doesn't have the work rate or the amount of distance that he covers on the pitch cannot work under a manager like Ten Hag. But he ended up covering the most ground. He managed to
sometimes to his own detriment, you would probably say at times.
Yeah, because we've all said he's great when it comes to playing near to the box. But regardless, he's played as a makeshift centre back at times under Ten Hag. He's been everywhere on the pitch. So when people compare him to players like Odegaard, who haven't really turned up for Arsenal this season in the way Bruno has turned up for us. Bruno is a favorite target of the media. Came in from Sporting, they saw him. First, I think he ended with 28 goals and 18 assists in his first full season under Oli. And when this next season, he still delivered like 27 to 28 goals and assists for us, but he became a target for the media when he's not able to deliver 40, 45 goals a season. So you look at someone like Odegaard, who's nowhere near to the mark, but nothing has been spoken about him for the entire year. So, and I think he's been an irreplaceable piece. And again, if you can, like if Gyökeres comes in, Bruno also needs supporting characters in that team who can get the best out of him.
So if United are able to address those issues and use, and then Bruno is able to fit as a piece in this team, you'd see much better and refined play from Bruno.
I agree. I'm fascinated to see how it's going to work. Obviously, because it seems like he's going to be playing in the midfield role a lot more this season with Cunha and potentially Mbuemo coming in. So how that all pieces together and what we see in pre-season and then how that evolves into the start of the season and so on. I think the first 10, 15 games are going to be so closely watched by fans and media and just to see.
Can't have a slow start. Can't have a slow start at all next season.
No, you can't be doing that. But yeah, it'll help if you actually get in decent players, and then Mbuemo will be the start of it. So for any further updates on that transfer, bottom right-hand corner of your screen are all our social medias. If you've been on our social media before, you'll see there is update by the minute, whether it's transfer over on Instagram, X, and then you get clips on TikTok, etc. Close to 30k now on TikTok, I think. Close to pushing towards 10k on Instagram, and X followers need pushing up as well. So if there is anyone and you're interested, then yeah, drop us a follow, subscribe to the channel, and check out our interview yesterday with Jay Motti as well, where we spoke about, there was so many different things. We spoke about films, spoke about pre-season expectations, transfer news, and a load of random stuff as well, which always happens with Jay. But a really good show, so check that out. Hopefully you enjoy it. We will not be live tonight because me and Sam are out with a certain individual from The Athletic, which is going to be interesting. So yeah, take it easy, everyone. Enjoy your weekend, whatever plans you have, and me and Shreyas will see you guys in the next